Fox News has been making actually, they've been losing a lot lately from misleading headlines due to the big settlement. But they've been making a killing off of another misleading headline in the mortgage industry. If you look up the new FHFA, or as Fox News calls it, Biden administration mortgage rule, Fox News has just a whole bunch of headlines about this. One of them reading, Senate GOP slams perverse Biden rule, forcing people with good credit to subsidize high-risk mortgages. There's many others that read the same way. What is the new mortgage rule coming down from the FHFA for Fannie and Freddie Mac loans on these conventional loans? What is the truth about the new loan? Are we subsidizing high-risk mortgages with people that have good credit? Brian Skelly, William Raveis Mortgage, what is your thoughts?
Yes, I'm excited to talk to you about this. First of all, I'm shocked that anybody is even paying attention to mortgage industry, what we call loan level price adjustments. This is like typically a pretty boring topic that nobody in the general public ever pays attention to. And it does change from time to time. And there's a lot of misconceptions. I've read several articles that are just straight up incorrect. And there's a lot of misinterpretation. So we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of it right now. So first of all, you got to understand what we're talking about. So what a loan level pricing adjustment is it just means that there's an adjustment to the rate based on credit score or the type of loan or the down payment. So generally speaking, people with lower credit scores pay higher interest rates, right? This is a generally understood topic. And now this is where a lot of the confusion comes in, because I don't know if you've seen the article, there's a color-coded chart that's showing up in a lot of these online news articles. And it shows that all of the sections for the lower credit scores are green, showing like improvement. And it's showing that the higher credit scores are like red, which is like bad and like making it worse. And people have misinterpreted this chart. People that are not in the mortgage industry, that do not understand how this works, are saying, oh, people with lower credit scores are getting better rates and lower fees than people with good credit scores. And I will tell you, that is not correct. That is wrong. If you have a lower credit score under the new rule, you will get a higher interest rate. You will pay more fees, or maybe both. I'm going to say that again. If you have a lower credit score, you will continue to get a worse rate or pay more fees, or both, under the new rule. So anything that says anything other than that is incorrect. Questions so far, Byron? You want me to keep going?
No, so, and I know the
I have
chart
an
that you're
example
referring to,
when
that
you're
was a Mortgage News Daily table that they put together, and the red is showing, in these, like, I think it's 720 to 760 credit score range, you could correct me if I'm wrong, that they are paying a little bit more than they did before. So is that money directly subsidizing the new benefit that the lower credit scores are getting?
Great question. We're going to do an example, and this is going to become really clear in a minute. So all of the listeners that are listening to the radio, can we all agree that it makes sense for somebody with a lower credit score to pay a higher rate or more fees than somebody with a good credit score?
Yeah, that's a higher risk typically.
Yeah, it makes sense. If you have a lower credit score, that loan's a higher risk, and therefore, whoever the bank or the investor is buying that mortgage, it just makes sense. They're going to want to get either more fees or a higher rate because somebody's a higher risk, they got a low credit score. So let's just assume that point is not in debate. Then the question becomes, how much higher of a rate or how much higher of a fee should this person with a lower credit score pay, right? So under the old rule, prior to the May 1st agreement, I'm going to give you some numbers. Under the old rule, on a $400,000 loan with 25% down, let's assume that's the baseline. So somebody's got great credit. They have a 780 credit score. They're doing the 25% down. That person would pay no additional fees. They've got the good down payment. they've got the great credit score, they would pay no additional fees. Under the old rule, the way it works right now until May 1st is if you have a 630 credit score and you're doing the same 25% down, you're either going to pay a higher rate or higher fees. So let me ask the listeners, what do you think would be the appropriate amount for somebody with a 630 versus a 780 credit score? Should they pay $5,000 more? Should they pay $10,000 more? Should they pay $20,000 more? Like, we all agree they should pay more, but the question is how much, right? So under the old rule, they would pay $11,000 more. So if the rate for somebody with great credit and 25% down is 6.5%, and somebody with the 630 credit score wants to get that same 6.5 rate, it's going to cost them $11,000 right now. In 2022, that's how it worked. And trust me, I've had phone calls with people and they're like, hey, my friend just got a rate of 6.5. And I'm like, well, your credit score is 630. If you want that same rate, you're going to pay $11,000. And people are like, excuse me? How much? Like, that's a lot of money, right? So essentially what's happening is, like, when you look at that color-coded chart, what's happening is they're closing the gap a little bit. They're saying, like, the difference in how much the low credit score people are paying versus the high credit score, it's a big difference. And they're just saying, like, let's make that difference a little smaller. So under the new rule, same scenario, $400,000 loan, 25% down, 780 credit score versus 630. If you want the same rate, it's now going to be $8,500 instead of $11,000. Now, if you made a news story the way I just described it, absolutely nobody would read it and nobody would care.
No.
Because who cares? It's not an exciting news story. But when you say, oh, lower credit score people are being subsidized by higher credit score people are going to read that story and people are going to get fired up about it. And that's essentially what's happening.